Hi, my name is Kent Jensen. I am a business leadership and growth strategist with Kent Coach. I started Kent Coach for two primary reasons. Now, before I go into those reasons, I want to give you a little bit of background on who I am and what I've been doing. Now, I had a friend come to me about 6 years ago. He had started a transportation brokerage, and there are about 8 people currently working for him. I'd worked with this friend downtown at a nightclub here in Boise, and I was currently selling real estate coaching at the time in Salt Lake. He decided to have me come back, help him with his transportation brokerage. It was a new company, new opportunity, and I saw a lot of room for growth within the company. So I came, and the same thing happened that always happens to me in previous jobs. I come in, I do really well at sales, I exceed, I grow, and then I get promoted. Now, before this, I'd always kind of plateaued at that particular point. I never received training as far as leadership training anytime I'd gotten promoted. So this time, I thought things would be a little different, and I would take it upon myself to go ahead and train and learn to become a better leader. And the more I learned about leadership and the more I learned about what is being a good leader, the more I realized I didn't know anything at all. In other words, I knew very little. And the more I learned, the more I realized I know very little. So I came to a point in my life where I was growing. And what I wanted and what the company wanted, as far as culturally, were two different things. I was trying to accomplish something with my team that was completely different than every other team out there. And we achieved success through this. It got to a point where it was either follow my own path or continue down the same path I was on. So I decided that I wanted to help people. And so the only way I could help people was by doing my own thing. So I started a charity. Now this charity is to help vets. Now I wanted to raise money in a different way for this charity other than the traditional fundraiser, that type of thing. So what I did was I decided to start a business. Now this business would provide a service, and instead of paying the business for the service, other businesses can give a donation to the charity. And then I can fund my charity and help people in the meantime. Now, this business, I decided we have to help people as well. What better way can I help people than where they work? Now, in studying and also just personal experience, I see that people are very unhappy when they go to work. They dread Mondays, and Friday is a party. What about Monday through Friday? Like, how are you living your life? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you engaged? And like I said, studies have shown that my experience and what I've seen of other people isn't alone. So a recent Gallup survey showed that 2/3 of workers in the US are not committed, are not engaged, and do not contribute wholeheartedly to their organizations. And about half would leave their current job for a raise of 20% or less. Okay, that's not a very, very large raise. In fact, that's very minimal to think about it, that your loyalty is just worth 20%. Now, that got me thinking, how can I help people be more engaged at work? And so that led me to study and led me to realize that there's a lot wrong with businesses today. Now, that comes directly tied with why I started Kent Coach. Now I'm helping people where they're at in their business. So the goal is create businesses that are communities and people feel a part of. They have their psychological needs met. Now, the only way we can do that is through proper alignment and having leaders who are emotionally intelligent. Now, before I go into that, I want to kind of discuss this word right here. Success. Okay. This word holds people back more than anything else. People don't realize it. But how you view success and how you define it is going to show us your ceiling. A lot of people have different standards and different versions of success, so that's why people achieve different things. Now, let me give you an example of how success can mean two different things to two different people. Now, I'm going to give you a story about two brothers. These two brothers were named Dick and Maurice. Now, Dick and Maurice, they started a restaurant. They sold hamburgers. Now, they're very successful at their restaurant. They made it a very profitable endeavor. Now, other people naturally came to them and said, hey, teach us how to have a profitable restaurant. And they failed miserably at this. Why? Because they'd already achieved their success. They were making enough money for themselves to live comfortably. So what's the motivation in helping other people? What's the motivation in growing the business? There was none, so they did a poor job at it. Someone else came along. This person's name was Ray Kroc, and he saw success as more than just running and operating one successful restaurant. He viewed success as having a nationwide network of restaurants that were identical, that were basically plug and play, the ability to set up a restaurant and make profits. This restaurant that we're talking about is called McDonald's. So the founders created a very successful restaurant, but they failed at being able to franchise that restaurant. Someone else with a different level of success came in, and they were able to take the restaurant to different levels, to what we know it today, into $1 billion company. Now, we see here how success held back Dick and Maurice. Now, success holds back businesses too. People achieve their level of success based on the habits they formed growing along the way. Now, in business, if you're not growing, you're dying. That's simple. Okay? So growth comes through innovation. Success blinds us to innovation because success shows us a routine that we create, and then from there, we repeat it over and over and over. But those habits are only going to get us the same results. If you're not constantly growing as a person, then your company's not going to be growing. If your company's not growing, then you're stagnate, and eventually your death will be imminent, whether it's slowly, little by little, or it just happens and you fall off a cliff. Now, what can we do to avoid these? What can we do to continue to grow as a business? Now, you can go in and you can say, hey, I'm going to analyze everything and see where we're wrong. Or you can have somebody who might have an outsider's view to be able to overcome any biases that may be implicitly holding you back, analyze your existing habits, and help you create new habits to help you take to the next level. Now, like I said, success is different for everybody else. So there's always going to be a peak where people feel like they've achieved something once they get to this point. And then from this point to the next point, there's a gap. This is what I call the success gap. Now, in order to overcome this gap, your company must have alignment. Okay? Now, when I speak of alignment, I talk about your mission, your core values, and your strategy. All those three things have to be tied in. And not only are they tied in, they have to be communicated. Everyone in the company has to know them. And then everyone in the company has to know how their goals fit in with that strategy. Okay, so alignment is creating a strategy from top to bottom that everyone is on board with. They have buy-in. They're excited about it. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how, when they come into work Monday morning, how that work affects the big goal and overall success of a company. Imagine that. Imagine how great of a feeling that is to come into work and knowing that even though you may be the janitor, your success depends on the company's success. And I've seen companies where you walk in and the janitor tells you how integral their role is. Oh, I have to keep the bathrooms clean. If I don't keep the bathrooms clean, then people will be upset. If people are upset, they can't do their jobs. They don't do their jobs, how are we going to make money? Fairly simple, right? So alignment just doesn't happen because the CEO says, this is our mission, this is our vision, and you put it on the wall. It starts with having an emotionally intelligent leader. Now, part of emotional intelligence and part of being a great leader and creating alignment, you need 4 pillars of leadership. They're authenticity, coaching, insight, and innovation. Now, these 4 pillars are something Dr. Steven Stein of MHS came up with that I've been able to adopt and use in my everyday work, and they work. For example, coaching. Pillar number 2, it's often overlooked as leaders. Now, he defines coaching as operating as a mentor and being able to understand the needs of the people under you and help them fulfill those needs. You see, as human beings, we're different than any other creature out there. We have our basic needs, which are food, water, shelter, and then new needs arise. And these are psychological needs. Now, society has come in and taught us certain things that we need that maybe aren't as healthy. So in understanding needs, you have to understand the psychological needs of the people under you. You cannot operate as a good coach or a mentor without understanding those things. Now, if you've never been taught or you've never had the opportunity to learn, how are you going to know how to do it? That's where I come in. I help your business by grading everyone, by coming in and giving us real assessments based on emotional intelligence and alignment. I take a picture from the top, and then I take another picture from the bottom. And then from there, we can sit down and we can create a strategy for growth based on creating more emotionally intelligent leaders. Now, science has given us ways to be able to measure these things. And from there, we have a baseline. So the intangibles, the things that make people successful, psychologists have been able to categorize those things. And that way we can test them. And then from there, we have a baseline. And then we can actually sit down one-on-one, observe behavior, and help people by giving them alternative ways to do things. Once we've created more emotionally intelligent leaders, that creates more trust. And once trust is there, innovation is free to flow. People feel like their ideas will be appreciated. They're going to give you their ideas. Innovation does not usually come from the top, does not come from the CEO. It comes from the people who I call the frontline workers. Those people know and understand the problems of the business probably better than anyone else. So if middle management is listening to them, they're going to give them ideas. And ideas should flow up, whereas direction and objectives should flow down. The overall outline of what we want to accomplish comes from the top, how we're going to accomplish it, and the innovation comes from the bottom. It's a balance. So if you or anyone you know is looking for alignment, and I know that the majority of companies out there are not aligned. In fact, only 7% of companies in the US are aligned. 7%. That means 93% of the businesses out there are just kind of floating. They have their habits. They've achieved a certain level of success. They've made a certain level of profits. So why should they change? Well, I'm saying they should change because they want to create something more than a business. They want to create a community where people not only are excited to show up to work, they get a level of fulfillment. And Friday, instead of start the party, they feel satisfied leaving work, knowing that they've done a lot. And then from there, their level of happiness and in their lives, their day-to-day, will increase. So I'd love to work with you. I'd love to set up a time to where I can come in and see how aligned your company is and where I can help. Now, the best way, email me, KJ@KentCoach.com, or go ahead, leave a comment, whatever. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to help you take your business to the next level. And I know we can definitely get it to where it's going to be successful.